I think
Meeting.
I think I'm. What about now? I clicked on a button
Yes.
that says, there we go. I think we're
Mhm.
live now.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So let's
Okay.
start again. We had some issues with live streaming configuration. So welcome again to a new bi-weekly meeting of the Maintainers Growth Working Group. So we already told Bami to present herself. Like maybe you want to do it again.
No problem. Hi everyone. I am Bami from Lagos, Nigeria, and I am the community marketing specialist. I'm going to be in your meetings. I look forward to working with you all. Thank you. Nice to meet you all.
Okay. So we didn't have any question posts in the meeting issue, but I'm asking you if you have any questions before we go and we move forward. Okay, I guess no. Cool. So let's move to our board. I'm gonna share the link somewhere in the chat. Some issues in progress. The first one we find here is the discussion draft. Sorry, the text draft A is created regarding the announcement of the working group. Let me share the link. And we were supposed to do some review, all of us, or mostly all of us. But I'm not sure it happened. So I know
Oh, it happened with me. I
that
definitely left
Sally,
it
yeah, you did even did like a editorial review, right?
Yes, I rewrote it because it was just, I had a lot of
Yeah.
voice problems.
So for those that didn't review it yet, I would say we have to set some kind of deadline for that. And if we reach that deadline without any request or any, I don't know, something that stops this so to be published, we move forward. Otherwise, it's gonna be like stuck here forever. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm fine. I think I'll review it later. Oh, we're on Wednesday already. I think I'll try and review it on Friday. Sorry, I was out last week, so I have a bit of a backlog, but I will try my best to review by the end of the week.
Okay, so let's try to set Monday. I mean, it's like soft deadline, of course. We don't do anything else, but I would say Monday as soft deadline, if you all agree. I don't know when it's Monday. Cool. So what else? Maintainers growth working group definition of OKRs. Oops, sorry. So in the last meeting, we have been talking about what were our goals as a working group. Just as a recalling method, I would say we decided to stop working on helping the automation project and team to get more maintainers. We can move deeply later, but basically based on that task, we decided to work we said we will set up some OKRs, like short-term OKRs, mid-term OKRs, based on that task we decided to go. I opened this issue 2 weeks ago, and so far only Quetzali did provide some feedback. So I guess this should be reviewed by all of us again. I'm not gonna set a soft deadline because this is pretty important. So this is something we have to do. So yeah, but please review it. I have also to provide more suggestions. So I just created the issue, right? So it's nothing about suggesting. Beside few things, very vague details. So please join our efforts and say your things here. Do you want to discuss this later if we have time?
Maybe it could be useful. I feel like maybe people are shy, and maybe if we discuss it, we'll actually get more traction going instead of just forgetting about leaving a comment later.
Okay. The other task that I set up, it's about setting up the regular meeting, like automated, but I don't know if that's possible to automate the creation of the meetings. So I created it manually, manually by running the GitHub workflow. If any of you know if this can be done automatically without any human interaction, just say it. Otherwise, I will consider this as done. I will be the one creating the meeting always, and that's it.
Oh, that's a good question.
Um,
Do you know, Thuli?
it's all no, it's actually always like due to the workflows. So the automation, I don't, unless if you like add it to the calendar, then I don't think so. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, it's usually to push like the workflow on GitHub, then the meeting is created. That's it.
Okay. So I will do it manually, well, through the workflow. Cool. This one, so we've finished the in progress one. The to-do ones, as Ace is not here, I'm gonna move forward because that was a very minor thing that if it's losing interest, I think it's fine to discard. I'm not gonna even lose time. In the previous meeting, we discussed about this. And yeah, the big task. So that's the task we want to work as part of our goals. So the automation team, there is no such a team, okay? But there are people working on automation on Async API GitHub organization, where we have tons of GitHub workflows, and it is very hard to get maintainers because it's hard to understand the complexity of our automation infrastructure. And there is a lot of lack of documentation as usual, and so on, so on. So again, this was discussed in the previous meeting, and I created as well this issue. So the idea here in this task is to share, as you did, Quetzali, in the past. So it's to share what initiatives we want to get out of this. We can create different issues from this or whatever we decide to do. We can ask the people that is working on automation. It's up to us. I believe we decided to do some particular things, and it should be written here. So any of you have worked on this during the last 2 weeks is my question, because I didn't. just to know if there is some status update. No, I guess no. Yeah, I have to say that in my case, for example, I had an offsite of my company, right? Some of us were there. But anyway, I guess this is very important for us. This and the OKRs one. I would say this is even more important than the OKRs because if we move forward on this, we will be able to get some OKRs from us. We need to understand the needs of that team and that project before moving forward, right? We already have kind of a vague idea of what it is, as I put it here. But yeah, we have to work deeply. I added here your name, Quetzali, because I honestly believe you are the one with the domain expertise. Well, you are actually. I don't believe it. You are. That's true. Regarding documentation and how our documentation looks and how it's organized. So, but that doesn't mean that it's on your side, of course. So we all have to work on it, and we all have to provide our suggestions and move on it and put it like start working on it.
I thought that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel that I remember Lucas saying that he wanted to write up a first draft. No, not a draft, make a video. But he was
Yes.
on vacation for a week and then he said he needed another week. So
Yeah,
he
3
did
weeks.
say, yeah, he did say that it was going to be like at least 3 weeks before he followed up with me with any content or demo for me to write these docs. So from what I remember, we're still within the timeline of what he said.
Yeah, I'm gonna write it here. That's a
Cool.
really good addition. I forgot about it. That's
That's
why
what
we
you
are like kind of stuck.
have.
Yeah, but still, I think we can do some things, right? Like
Mm,
because what we are missing from Lucas is the explanation of how the automation work, right? Like what will be explaining someone that wants to onboard a maintainer on that project. I think that's what Lucas will provide to us.
mm, that's a good question. Personally, I felt that honestly, as a technical writer, I would rather see his input first before I start writing my first draft for this one. Because this is one of those where I have less visibility, and so I'd want more background context. Because otherwise, if I just kind of start drafting out something just to have something out there, I just kind of feel like at this stage I don't have a lot of information to go on. But I mean, to take your suggestion, something I can do meanwhile is I can go ahead and take a look at our current GitHub workflows to at least familiarize myself with what's out there for now. And then when Lucas sends over his explanation, I will have already started the research. So I can do that so that I'm starting something now and not just waiting until Lucas gets back.
You know what? I can do it right now.
What do you mean?
I can explain to you all what is this about
I
in
mean, yeah,
15 minutes.
That would be lovely.
Yeah, because otherwise it's gonna be like, I'm not gonna go deeper as Lucas because we don't have time, but at least explaining how everything works globally.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna do it now. And if we have time later, we will talk about OKRs. If not, we will postpone it. So everything starts here at this repository. Okay. So I'm gonna share. So any of you know what GitHub workflows are? Or GitHub Actions, maybe better. I guess some of you know, right? So the thing we talk about creating that meeting automatically on the calendar and so on, it's a GitHub action, in fact. So those are automation scripts that GitHub provide to you that let you act, or either based on some events, like every time someone creates a pull request, every time someone creates an issue or closes it, or someone comments, but also can be triggered manually, or I believe you can also trigger it by some cron job, like every certain time or whatever. How do they look? So those actions should be in your repository, any of your repository. If we go to, for example, to the parser, sorry, just an example, we will see this directory. In all of our projects, you will see that directory. This should be named like this. GitHub expects your GitHub action files and workflows to live under this directory always. And if you go inside, remember this is parser. This is an example of any of the repositories we have. And we go inside workflows, we find tons of files here. And let's pick up something simple. For example, this one, lint PR title. So what this action, this workflow does is to check on every new pull request if the title matches some pattern that we expect. We are following some conventions. I'm not going to go inside this and explaining a lot of it, but we are expecting some conventions on the way you add the title of the work, the pull request. And this is basically linting that, and it fails the pull request state if the format is not correct. So we see there is a title. We see there is a on. So when this should run, okay, so the target is on pull request target. Whenever it's open, whenever it's reopened, synchronize. So every time someone does a push to the code, or edit it. So every time you edit the description, or of course the title, or it changes to Reddit for a video. So basically on any action you do on the pull request, this will run. And what will run? So a collection of jobs. In this case, this lint PR title, that basically what it does is to link that title with matching some pattern. That's it. If it's correct, the format, nothing happens. If it's not correct, it fails and puts a comment on the PR saying, hey, as we see here, we require all PRs to follow conventional comics specification, blah, 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 blah. So the user would see in the pull request a message from the bot saying exactly this. We require all PRs to follow, etc., etc. That's it. This is a workflow. Simple one. Any question here? Okay.
Okay, I don't know if this is if I'm supposed to ask this now, but how does what we want to do relate to the workflow now? Like, what exactly do we want to achieve in the workflow?
In this workflow, you mean?
No, like in the goals that you showed earlier.
Yeah. Well, basically what Lucas asked us is to document workflows in a way that we can onboard maintainers into it, and they can edit or fix things from here, because all of this is written by us, by all of us, you know,
Mm.
and maintained by us. So they need more maintainers because that's tedious, you know. There is a lot of a lot of work. It's not very easy to test that. You have to test it or either manually, like copy pasting the scripts, or there are some tools that emulate the environment of GitHub where this runs, because this runs on the cloud. So GitHub runs for it for you. So it's not easy to test. So that's what they need to get more maintainers. Make sense?
Yeah, does. Thank you.
Okay, so having said that, and as you saw, just in parser.js, we have tons of them. We have that one. We have one for just testing the pull request. So testing the code that everything works and running the tests and so on. We have one for releasing. So every time we merge something to master, there is an automated workflow that runs and releases the package, the node, the NPM package or the Go, whatever language we use. And there are tons of them. Like there is one workflow for auto-merging pull requests created by bots, or whenever we do the / ready to merge, that command runs or triggers a workflow that tries to merge automatically if everything fulfills the criteria. So if the maintainers did +1, etc., etc. So all the automations that you see in GitHub, in our GitHub, are created via workflows and maintained by developers, like in our organization. Okay, then, as you can see, so most of them are reusable, right? So this PR title link thing, the testing, the pull request code, auto merging, whatever. So there are tons of them that are reusable and are not particular of the repository itself. So in order to don't lead with copy pasting and having workflows that are not updated whenever something like we find a bug fix. Imagine you find a bug. We find a bug on this PR title thing where we are missing some, I don't know, some use case. Imagine if we have tons of like 20, 30, 40 repositories using this, we will have to move the bug fix around all of them manually. Each owner will have to apply the change manually on their repository. So in order to avoid that, what we have, it's called the global automation repository, or this .github repository. GitHub provides you a mechanism for declaring global things that applies to your whole organization. And the thing works by creating a repository called .github. This is a standard set by GitHub. Okay, this is not in our case. So you will find .github repositories in other organizations. And what we have in that repository, beside other things, are global workflows. If we go here, we will see those that we saw in the parser.js one. For example, the lean PR title, or the auto merge, or the Node.js pull request testing. So what we are doing is that we edit and we create those global workflows, those that apply to every repository. We create them here in this repository. And we have another workflow that every time we edit or every time we add or even remove a workflow here, it creates a pull request on each repository for updating, removing, or adding the workflow. In that way, we don't have to manually maintain those. In fact, if we come back to the parser.js repository, to the lean PR title workflow, we see this comment here, where it says this action is centrally managed in async API.github. Don't make changes to this file in this repo, as they will be overwritten with changes made to the same file in above mentioned repo. So you cannot change this. That's something that comes automatically from the other repository. In that way, again, we have globally distributed workflows across the whole GitHub organization. Any question? There are more details, okay? How we distribute those workflows is basically based on those tags in the repository. So, for example, the get global node release workflows, every repository that has this tag will get all the workflow related with releasing Node.js projects. Otherwise, we won't copy it inside GitHub or update it or delete it. The same for release, the same for auto-update, etc. In that way, everything, so based on those tags, will be copied or updated or removed from your repositories. The same if we go to other, yeah, we see those. If we remove any of those tags, those workflows will stop being synchronized. Yes? Any question? Something else you want to know? There are obviously more things to explain there, but that's, I would say this is like the global picture. Good. So that's it.
Thank you, Sergio.
No problem. Yeah, in addition on top of this, so there are tons of workflows, and yeah, we deal with API calls to some services. We deal with tons of things, and sometimes workflows break, and we have to fix them like very quick. For example, I had the parser.js CI pipeline was stopped for weeks, and no one noticed because we didn't have any release. And as soon as someone wanted to release, didn't work. Why? Because GitHub decided to update Mac OS image where those workflows run. We run it on Ubuntu, we run it on Mac OS and Windows. And they decided to move forward and update the latest version of Mac OS. And we had some dependencies that don't work on that. And yeah, finding this, I spent like days almost, like super difficult. So that's why it's, and I have the knowledge of the workflow, how it works. So I can imagine how hard it would be for someone that doesn't know about the workflow. So it's a pain. So yeah, so everything we can document, everything we can guide people through, it will be a really win for this project. Good. Okay. Yeah, I guess that's all. We can jump if you want to talk about the OKRs, or we could talk if you want to suggest anything else here. I mean, things that we can discuss still is where we want to put documentation of the workflows. I think we already did something in the last meeting, but to officialize that, like to take some decisions, how we want to, how it would look, and so on. I don't know. Maybe we can do it now, or maybe we can use this issue. What do you think?
Can you repeat the question? I missed it.
Yes. We are waiting for Lucas' video. where we will create our own documentation. But my question is, can we do something in the meantime, like taking decisions on where this documentation will live, how it will look, who is going to work on this,
Yes,
and
we
how
also,
we want to work?
sorry, I interrupted. Sorry,
It's fine.
got excited. Yes, we actually talked about this last week. So do you remember last week that I showed a link to the outline of the new community docs and workflows and processes that was originally going to be part of GSOD 2024? So we already discussed in the last meeting that we'll be using this outline for placing our GitHub workflows documentation, which is already here. And as far as where we're going to store it, in our last meeting, we actually discussed about the option of storing this in the community repo, because that's where we've already determined in the information architecture that it belongs. But then Lucas brought up the suggestion of storing this directly in the .github repo.
Mhm.
And in the back and forth, we had essentially two options, either just store it in community repo and then the generic community GitHub automation will publish it directly to the website under the community content bucket. Or if we store it directly in the .github repo, then we have to create a new automation that will publish it both in the community and the website. And I do see the value in storing this directly in the .github repo, because this is directly where, well, the workflows are. And it will definitely, I think, encourage people to not forget to add documentation of any new workflows they add. So at least in the last meeting, my vote was agreeing with Lucas to store this in the .github repo, but we added an automation to publish it to community content bucket.
Okay. So I guess we could work on it.
Oh, yeah, I guess we could start that automation work.
Yeah.
And I can start some of the first draft writing based on, for example, what you walked through us today with that information. That's something to get me started as well.
Yeah, totally. Okay. So I think it's a good movement. Meanwhile, we got this video because we
Yes.
have to do it otherwise. So anyway, cool. Do you mind, Quetzali, creating after this meeting that task that you said you're creating, like a draft content? I don't know, here in our
Um,
blog?
oh, you want me to add a task to the maintainers board?
Yeah.
I will do that.
Thank you. Yeah, I will create the automation stuff. Okay, the workflow, the task for the workflow that will copy from the GitHub to website community section. Did I say it right?
So, we want it in the community content bucket,
Okay.
and I believe that's why Lucas had said that we would copy it to the community repo so that it from there is published to the website in the community content bucket. But don't quote me because I'm not 100% sure I understood the technicality of what he said.
And where is this community content bucket located in terms of code? Like, where is
Let
it in
me,
webs?
I actually wanna,
You want to share?
yeah, because I think it'll just make things easier and
Yeah.
hopefully we'll make less mistakes. So right now I'm gonna open the community repository. And we see here that there's a folder called docs. So
Okay.
you want these to showcase here in docs, according to the outline created, or copied over here. Because whatever is here inside docs, the community GitHub workflow will automatically push it to go here in community content bucket. So essentially, the GitHub automation will push whatever is here inside the community repo to be published live in Async docs / community content repo.
Okay. Okay, and
So,
should be under some subfolder just to
so
add the
it, again, opening the application for 2024 GSOD, you will essentially be seeing subfolders based on this outline.
okay.
So let's pretend that we go as is and there's absolutely no changes, just for the sake of expediency. Then essentially we would have under the community content bucket, we're going to have a new subdirectory that would be called, I believe, onboarding maintainer guide. In the onboarding maintainer guide, we'll have all this stuff.
Okay.
So you should expect to see inside community docs, just like there's an onboarding guide folder, there will be a new subfolder for maintainer onboarding guide.
And just a technical detail. So every folder, every directory, it's like a sublevel on the documentation. So we'll have to get like,
It'll look like this, like the getting started subdirectory
okay.
that opens and has its own content.
So like onboarding maintainer guide, and then, yeah, what? We will have to decide where to put that.
Well, no, we already know where it's going to go. It's going to go here in community. It's what I just said.
Yeah. But it should be like community in the repository. If you go to the repository again, like community docs, onboarding maintainer guide,
Yes, exactly. Just
and
like
then
this here, except that I'll probably change this so that it doesn't say onboarding guide. We'll have to update this to say technical writing, for example, onboarding guide, because this is not very clear right now. So just like this is onboarding guide, it'll be the same thing. It'll be /docs/ maintainer onboarding guide and all the content inside.
okay. Nice.
Yes.
So I will create the issue for copying then from .github to the community content bucket.
Okay.
If any of you want to work on it, just say it. Otherwise, I will take it. Maybe
So many
maybe
volunteers.
someone wants to practice with workflows. I don't know.
Is it like a lot of work? I am a little bit curious to see what it's involved.
To be honest, I believe we have to copy some workflow we already have.
Probably.
Because if we already have one for copying from community to website, right?
Yes, we should. Or they're working on it, because the last I heard was that they were almost done with it, but that it wasn't quite done yet. And that's why now in Async API docs / community, the onboarding guide isn't live yet, because they haven't finished the automation. So not even the community automation is ready yet.
Yeah, I don't see any workflow that looks like this.
Yeah, it's not ready yet. So the person who was working on it is a student, and so it's kind of been, he hasn't had much availability to finish it.
Do you mind sharing the name later, or?
Yeah, I honestly forgot their name. I'm not trying to be secretive or anything. I have to check.
I do remember.
Oh, okay.
I'll ping you say here.
Okay. Thank
Okay,
you.
yeah, great. Because I'm like in Slack trying to remember, like, wait, who was this? Can't even.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to remember all of the names.
Oh, I think Animish. Was it Animish?
Oh.
Yeah, it is Animesh. He was the
Okay,
one
okay.
working on the workflow, yeah.
So,
Animish Kumar. Yeah, that's what it was.
yeah. He is working in another bounty, so and I'm kind of mentoring. So I will ask Animesh. Cool,
Yeah,
thank you.
that'd be great. He's lovely to work with, but I was just kind of feeling worried that we seemed blocked and not moving forward with that.
Yeah, he's working hard in another issue at this moment. So anyway, cool. Okay, so I think we are not gonna go into the OKR stuff. So let's do one thing. Let's try to see what we accomplished today, the actions that we want to take. I'm gonna share the screen quickly. So in one side, I'm gonna do a draft stuff here. Copy docs from .github to community content bucket. Cool. Draft documentation. Draft. Is it enough? We can change it later.
Sorry. I think I missed something, or maybe I was. What are you copying from .github to the community content bucket?
Yeah, you definitely missed something. So
Yeah,
A
sorry.
lot of
Yeah,
things.
I really missed it.
it's okay. I think we've actually been discussing this for several weeks, but I mean, I tune out of conversations all the time too, so I feel you on that. So to repeat again, this goes in the community content repo. Yes. But
Okay.
in the previous meeting of the maintainers working group, Lucas brought
Mhm.
up the fact that the .github repo might be more appropriate to store this because that is, of course, where the actual GitHub workflows and automations are stored and created. And the concern that if we don't store the docs there, people will forget to add new docs as they add new, workflows or update maintaining workflows. So we think it'll be better to maintain documentation to store the docs directly in .github where the workflows are. But when we think about where the actual docs belong in the live website, well, according to the exercise we've established, it's going to go in the community content repo. So that's why we're discussing that even though we'll store these initially directly in the .github repo, we need an automation to copy this to the community repo so that it's also pushed live to the website under docs/community.
Okay. All right. Makes sense. Makes sense. Okay. No, I got confused there because yeah, I do remember the last time it was like storing the whole docs in .github, but I think I missed the one where we push it like to the website. Oh, yeah, it makes sense. Thanks so much, Kosale.
Yeah, for sure, no problem. It's been a lot to keep track of.
Okay. Oops. That's not supposed to be here. What I did with my did I stop sharing what I'm doing? Sorry. Anyway, let me share again. I lost the. I'm a disaster, huh? Okay, back. So I created this one, right? Copy docs from blah 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 that I will work on. I will create the proper issue. This is just a draft, and the same for this one. Like draft.github documentation based on what I said or based on, I would say, just few words. I don't know, just something to put there, I guess, right? Micro onboarding. So again, those two, and to review, remember to review the.
Wait, did you just create my own task, the one that I needed to create?
I just create the draft. Just create it.
So should
Just
I just use this one?
Yeah, you edit and you put it nice, and you are, or you create a real issue on community. Up to you. I just created here just as an action of as an action item. Sorry.
Since you had asked me to create the task after the call, I wanted to make sure I didn't duplicate and, do something that you already did.
Yeah. Again, yeah, I created. Sorry.
No, I
Just as
mean,
an exercise of having the action items before we end the meeting. But again, take it and put it nice. This is just the draft of. It's not even an issue. So
Yep.
so as an action item, we have this one, the one from that I would take, copying from one repo to the other. This one that it's on Quetzali's site, and then the one we had from previous meeting that is reviewing the draft communication ACE wrote, and we put some soft deadline. And let's forget about the OKRs. I would say let's try to work on them in the next meeting, or just try to understand them, what we want to do, once we have something more content, I would say. Does it sound good for you?
Yeah, all good from my end.
Okay. Anything else you want to share before we finish the meeting? Something missing? Something I missed? Okay, folks. So I guess that's all. See you in 2 weeks.
Okay. Thank you. Yay.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.